Haven't already. Johns Hopkins medicine folks say it's all about getting children into the habit. That means establish bedtime routines and meet the teacher ahead of time if you can. One family says they're making sure their daughter knows how to open up all of her food packages for lunchtime, the little things you don't think about. Action News 5 is teaming up with the YMCA of Memphis in the Mid-South to help students return to the classroom with the tools they need to succeed, and we're asking for your help. If you would like to buy school supplies or a backpack, you can donate that at the YMCA Backpack Drive. Drop it off at any Y location. There's also a direct link to Amazon, a wish list. Find that on actionnews5.com, the link to that. And if you do go out and buy supplies, you can donate them in person at any Y location or stop by the studio this Friday, 1960 Union Avenue, the Action News 5 headquarters. Drop off your donations and say hello to the news team.
We're going back to breaking news we told you about at the top of this newscast, with a large portion of residents in Germantown unable to use their water for anything other than flushing the toilet. The city expected to share an update, is sharing an update now.
All right, do we have a live shot right there? Okay, let's go ahead and listen in.
Me, as their mayor, they like to hear from me, especially when we're in time of emergency and in time of crisis as well. So as you're aware, just to reiterate a little bit of the timeline, last Thursday at 3:31 p.m. I declared a state of emergency in Germantown. As you're aware, some of our residents noticed odor emanating from their faucets, and they notified us. We were quick at the task to be able to go out and answer those calls. We identified the source, and it was at our Southern Avenue water plant. Located at a power source there, and right at our reservoir. We divulged all this information to the appropriate parties, TDEC, the Shelby County Health Department. We self-reported that, and we brought that forward. We engaged a group of consultants, several of them over the last 4 days. We're in day 5 of this crisis, but we've engaged several consultants, including most recently InSafe. We've also engaged Caesar, which is the University of Memphis water experts, and they do a lot of groundwater testing and also provide a lot of advice in that area and consulting as well. As was mentioned just a moment ago, we were very pleased last evening to release to the public that our residents that are east of Forest Hill Irene Road, about 20% of the landmass of our city, is back on our water system. We have 2 water plants, and we currently have 1 water tower. Our Johnson Road plant is equivalent to our Southern Avenue plant, and that pushes a lot of water out into the community. It's far from, it's a good distance from our Southern Avenue plant where the leak of diesel was detected, and so that area is able to put out and push out clean water. So we were very excited to be able to announce that last evening. We've given instructions to those residents to be able to flush their systems and to be able to in essence, continue life as before Thursday, July the 20th. It does not give me any pleasure to make the community aware that we continue to flush and test each and every day. Today's battery of tests and samples that we took did not come back positive, in the sense that we did not get an all clear from our testing consultants. So as a result, we will continue to be under the no drink, no bathe, only flush with our potable water here in Germantown. We will continue the process of flushing the system. We will continue the process of opening up hydrants. We've opened up over 100 hydrants throughout our city. We will continue to do that, and then we'll test. I know it gets very frustrating for our residents and also you members of the media. We test, and not to get into, I guess, the facts of how you test, but basically a testing cycle, gathering samples, getting to the lab, getting results back, analyzing the results, and then working with our primary partner, TDEC, the Tennessee Department of Environment and Conservation, roughly takes about a day each time that cycle is committed. We have been getting information out to the community. We'll sometimes do 3 to 5 press releases each day on all of our social media platforms and all the ways that we communicate with our residents in the greater community. It gets frustrating for me as a leader and for our professionals that are behind me, and I'll introduce them in a moment, that we can't bring news every moment because sometimes the news would be there is no new news. We are very thankful of many of our partners along the way. I would specifically point out our friends and neighbors in the town of Collierville. They have provided water from their system for residents that come each day to fill up containers at Bailey Station Elementary School, and that will be open tonight as well from 4 to 7. We've also had partnerships with the Tennessee Valley Authority that have provided bottled water for us that we distribute at Forest Hill Elementary School. Tonight will be 4 to 7 as well. We will continue that into the future, and we will continue to get information out to our community on bottled water and our partnership with Collierville. TDEC has been a partner. They have helped us along the way understand that clean, safe drinking water is paramount for our residents and for any resident of any city. They determine and help determine what safe levels are. We were very fortunate in the days that we've tested up till today. We've had a day where we'll send out 15 samples and 14 will come back with no diesel, but still, if you have diesel detection, we have to either retest that area or flush that area and begin anew. Today we had several samples come back, and those are close to our reservoir at our Southern Avenue plant, and that's where the water is produced and distributed. So if it's produced and distributed at that point, it's pushed out into our system. And so a lot of people will ask us, why aren't you flushing everything now? There are a lot of reasons for that. We cannot lower our water pressure in our community. If we lower our water pressure community, whether it's diesel water or not, our fire chief cannot put out fires. And so we have to be very strategic when we do that. And since our system's not clean yet, we're not going through a flushing protocol throughout the whole city. We flush our tanks at the city sites, but we have not instructed any measures to flush in the residential or commercial properties. With that said, I'd like to introduce a few of the folks that are here very quickly. To my right, we have our fire chief, Eric Grizzard. We have Ethan Skaggs, our city engineer. Our assistant city administrator, Andy Sanders, he's also an engineer as well. We have our city administrator, Jason Heisman, and our public works director, Bo Mills, as well. I will tell you this and tell our residents most specifically, our team has been relentless, steadfast, hyper-focused on bringing safe water back to you. We were very proud that we were able to get the folks that are east of Forest Hill back online. I live west of Forest Hill. I'd like to be back online myself. I do appreciate the patience that our residents are displaying. I know you're frustrated. I'm frustrated as well. We are very much engaged in wanting to make sure that we work hard to bring the facility back up. So with that being said, I would like to point out one thing before we take questions. We do have a Germantown alert program, and this allows our residents to be able to get information in pinpoint accuracy, and we have, matter of fact, gone from about 3,000 enrollees, I think over 10,000 since Thursday. So if people want to get information, there's no doubt about that. With that said, I'll take a few questions. Yes, sir.
Yeah, have you been yet able to determine how long the diesel was leaking before it was discovered, and how can residents be assured that nothing leaked previously and
Sure.
that it won't leak in the future and go undetected?
Sure. Yeah, and we recently had our water tested by the state, as is done on an annual basis, and that was only maybe about a month ago, and we were in full compliance and passed at that level. Once we detected, in the sense that our residents shared that information, that they smelled an odor, and it does smell like diesel if you've ever smelled diesel, they reported that to us, and we immediately responded. So to specifically answer your question, knowing what day, time precisely, I can't answer that, but we would probably estimate that it was probably within a day or so. We were able to identify that and get that under control and get that generator to the point where it could be taken offline and then brought back online if needed. So thank you.
Okay, to follow up,
Yep,
you
yep.
can answer my question. To follow
Yep.
up, what I'm specifically asking is there were no alarm bells, nothing went off to tell you that there was diesel in the water. How can residents be assured
Sure.
that will not happen again?
We're testing and with our partners at TDEC as well, and so we will not open back up if there are diesel traces. So yes.
I know you said before you weren't going to get into all the details, but a lot of people are asking, how and where do you test? And, I know you said when you put out 15 samples and one comes back. I mean, are you seeing these levels diminishing each time that you test?
They vary at times. You can look at the test and, we could go into the particle or the exact numbers, but they will vary. And we use the same, I will just look to the company that we use for testing is Waypoint. Waypoint is our testing facility. They're a local firm. Yes, right.
Has this been determined a human error?
We'll do a full assessment and an after action when we conclude. Our primary focus is to get water to our residents and to all of our customers, commercial and residential. We'll do a comprehensive after action assessment and look at all the process.
So you don't know right now, correct?
Who's next?
This gentleman.
Oh, I'm sorry.
To be
Yeah.
able to determine it was only 100 gallons.
It's purely an estimate. We cannot
Because it said
determine.
approximately 100
Correct. It
gallons.
could be less or it could be more.
So
It's,
it wasn't approximately 100 gallons.
approximately means it could be less or more. Yes, approximately 100 gallons. Yes, sir.
Have there been any admittances or data shown that anybody has actually become sick so far from this leak?
Not to my knowledge. Not
The
to my
gentleman
knowledge.
in the blue.
Is there
Yeah.
any concern about residue left in the pipes leading to homes?
Well, sure, and that would be why we are flushing the system, and that's very important to get everything out, and we will continue to do that. Matter of fact, when we hit a pause in a second, I'll share some more information with you that alludes to maybe a separate measure that we're looking at as well. Yep.
I kind of going off of what I asked
Mm-hmm.
you before, how and where do you test? Like, where are you collecting these samples from?
Sure.
What's that process?
Sure. Well, it's a combination, again, with our partnership with TDEC. We had a tight circle around the actual point of contaminant, and we were directed to go there, and then we drew a larger radius, and then when we get reports from our residents, we will send a testing crew there. They'll draw a sample. We also have a team of firemen and public works employees that are going out when a resident has a smell or odor of diesel. They'll go out and open those fire hydrants in that neighborhood. So, yeah,
The gentleman in white.
Yeah.
will
Yeah,
leave that.
so what I'm asking,
sure.
how can residents be assured that another chemical, not just diesel, something else, perhaps something that someone specifically intently puts in the water
Sure.
supply, if there's no detection method, how can people be sure that's not going to happen?
Sure. We're testing for diesel and also something known as VOCs, variable organic compounds, volatile organic compounds. And so those contain many, many things. We've issued a do not drink, do not bathe, only flush order. So we would hope that people would adhere to that. In the blue, yes.
We were just out at the Southern Avenue plant and we saw what looked like an excavator digging
Sure.
up. Is that to do with this situation? What's actually happening after
Sure.
this?
We are beginning to do even more deeper remediation. Our partner, InSouth, and I think we may have another partner. InSafe is there to look at taking the soil down further and to see if we have any saturation. And I'm probably using some terms that I'm not comfortable with, but that is more work to see whether or not we can find where the system is being contaminated. Yep. Go ahead.
Gentleman over in the
Are
blue.
we sure
Yeah.
whether or not it's affected water heaters, ice makers, inside of people's homes? And if so, is that disaster declaration going to be able to help reimburse them for replacing these things?
Well, go ahead. That's to be determined. Each one of those components, those mechanical units, they all have manufacturer instructions on how to clean those, how to flush those, purge those, that type of thing. I will share with you that when we do our after action assessment, we will review with our Financial Advisory Commission and our staff, and I will direct them that we will look at providing some type of a credit to our water customers in the city, to be determined at a future date, obviously.
And what about workers who are out of work right now? You know, hairdressers, restaurant workers, florists. Will there be a reimbursement for the money that they're missing?
Sure. I mean, we'll do a full after action, and so I can't answer that right now. So
The gentleman in the Navy,
Yeah.
Okay,
How
yeah.
close was the generator to the water source, which a lot of these situations have?
Yeah, in very, very close proximity. I don't know if we have the exact feet or whatnot, but it is right there, abuts the facility itself. So behind that, the gentleman just asked, yes.
Yes. Do you know if this has impacted residential pools, community pools? What do you
Well,
know?
now pools are generally, when they're filled, they circulate, and so if you just put water in your pool after July 20th, obviously it would be impacted. If you did not, people treat their pools with their own chemicals and follow those guidelines. So I think that kind of answers the question. It could be if people put water in it, but if not, it would be probably fine. Yeah.
are apartment complexes required to let their residents know? Because I know of two people, they live one stoplight apart, one apartment complex let them know, the other didn't, and then they were both suddenly in the all clear zone, so they don't know if they should have been using their water or not, but they both were.
The all clear zone that is east of Forest Hill, Irene Road, but to my knowledge, we don't have any multifamily that's east of Forest Hill, Irene Road, so.
Their apartment complexes did not let them know, but they're both in that like Germantown area that was alerted to be aware, but if she didn't have those alerts, if she didn't work for a news station, she wouldn't
Sure.
know, so her apartment complex is required to let
Sure,
them
we
know.
put out information on every social media platform, press releases, the Germantown Alert, and you folks help us as well.
So are
yeah.
apartment complexes required or not required to let their tenants know?
That I'm not comfortable answering that question, because I don't have an answer for it.
What about-
Not
Oh, I know.
knowledge. Yeah,
Hang on,
I'm
I
sorry.
know I'm sorry. I know you gave the all clear for east of Forest Hill, Irene Road, but then there was also a notice put out that if you live in that all clear zone but you're smelling diesel, to give you guys a call. So is there still a concern that that area could be affected by this?
Well, so as we give flushing instructions, it would be natural to think this through, that as the water is being flushed through the system and leaves the system, it could, as that residue leaves, produce odor, and actually that would be a positive sign. It's now leaving. And so we've asked our residents to report that so that we can send one of our crews there and to evaluate the situation more
So
closely.
you're confident that that area is in the clear? People there don't have to worry?
As of right now, yes. And, this is day to day, obviously, so.
You know, when we were out there the other day, we saw y'all setting up those big orange pumps, and it looked like it was spraying out over the field. The water, whether it's being pumped out or flushed out, where does the contaminated water go that you can make sure it's not going right back into the reservoir?
So we pump away, and it goes into the stormwater conveyance system that's then taken from this part of town. It's going to the Wolf River.
And then does it get reintroduced into the water supply down the river?
It would be diluted, but it would be taken out into the system.
So that is that not an environmental hazard that diesel is being pumped into the water?
Well, diesel, from what we understand from our friends at TDEC, the way that diesel is analyzed, they don't have a amount that they look for as a determinant for environmental concerns. So I can't answer that
But
question.
to be clear,
Yeah. Mhm.
diesel, mixed with some Germantown water is being pumped into the Wolf River right now.
Well, there's a $4.2 million reservoir. There's about 100 million gallons. What did I say?
You said dollar.
Yeah,
Gallon.
4.2 million gallon reservoir in our city, and at any point in time, there's about 100 million gallons that's going through all the pipes. So that's a lot of volume pushing out on a very small amount.
But again,
Yep,
yes,
yep.
it is being pumped into the Wolf River.
It goes into the conveyance system. The conveyance system exits into the Wolf
yes.
River.
About how long do you think it'll take for the investigation to begin?
We'll do a review and an after-action assessment. And so we would need to get our system back up and running. That's our primary concern for these gentlemen here. They've been working around the clock, and so we will review after that. We got one more question. Do you want to pick, or?
No. Well, let's do two more. We've got two more hands.
All right,
so
you got
we
it.
can
Here
answer
and
that.
here, and then I'll conclude with some announcements. Yeah.
Okay, so based on the progress that we've seen so far, any idea a timeline to a possible solution?
It is one day at a time. Yesterday we thought was a good day because we had a lot of all clears on samples, and today we had three that were not all clear. And then also we were able to release the sign that we were clear in the Forest Hill Heights area. That's east of Forest Hill, Irene Road. So that was good for us, but tomorrow is another and a new day. Yes, sir. I think you're the last question. Yep.
At this moment, do you know how much diesel is still in the water?
It can't be determined right now. It's very, very small amounts, very small trace amounts. So I'd just like to conclude with this and share this with our community. We are working tirelessly. We will continue the pattern that we have maintained for the last 4 days. This is day 5. We'll continue it tomorrow. We will draw samples. We will flush. We will test those samples. We'll submit to TDEC. Again, they have to be our concurring partner with us, and we will continue that. What we will today, I directed staff to begin to look at a secondary option. We are not in the too distant future. Our eastern water tower, that's new construction, is located near the intersection of Popper Pike and Forest Hill Irene Road. That is almost ready to go online, and so we are going to look at expediting that system going online, and if we're able to do that, we can pump from Johnson Road, fill up our tower on the eastern side of town. We can put our western tower, which is at Southern Avenue, we can take it offline, and then we can do full mitigation. Currently, we run with one tower in our city, so we replace that tower with the Johnson Road Eastern Tower and the Johnson Road plant. We will be able to service, and there'll be other instructions later on, and we've just begun that analytical work. I cannot give you a timeline of when that will be completed, but as we begin to review that, tomorrow I will probably be able to tell you that may be a viable option while we continue the current flush, test, and work with TDEC. So we would have a two-pronged, a dual track moving forward. So I'll close with this. I appreciate, and I hope that you're appreciative that you're inside today and not outside when everyone's interviewed me over at the water distribution site. I do appreciate our employees. We have first responders, and they work tirelessly, and they do a lot of great work, and we have one of them here today. But our engineering and public works folks and our communications team, they're working 15, 16 hours a day on this, day in, day out. Our emergency operations committee, since we're in a state of emergency, Chief Grizzard is the commander of that unit. He runs our meetings. I'm a participant. I've been to every one of those. We meet 4 to 5 times a day. And we are reviewing data. We're looking at the samples, the test results. We're communicating with the health department, the Shelby County Health Department. We're communicating with TDEC. We're communicating with our residents. I've got phone calls and emails and texts to return here in a moment. I get back with our residents within 24 hours. We will continue to put information out there. We ask for patience. We know you're frustrated. We're very empathetic toward that. I live here as well, and I want our water system back online. So thank you very much. I appreciate it, and we may assemble tomorrow, okay? All right? Thank you. Thanks, folks.